Hello, I am Kevin Thomas, and welcome to the At Home Film Festival. If you know me, you know I love musicals. All my vacations are surrounded by going to cities where there's a musical. So, of course, why wouldn't I love when musicals then become movies? Like here, we have Wicked. I like that especially because I could watch it again for a lower free price, and it also helps movies get to the masses that can't afford those expensive theater tickets. In fact, there's a channel called Broadway HD, by the way, which shows live filmed stage productions, which you should check out if you like going to the theater. But anyway, I thought this week we would take a look at 7 movies that were first musicals on stage and then became a film. And I'm looking at 7 that are sort of underrated or forgotten or didn't get the success they did on Broadway. Sure, I like them. They're not all liked. And I'm not doing movies that were bad, that were ruined by Hollywood. I'm doing movies that I think were good, but just didn't find the audience they did at the theater. Like Wicked was great at the theater and it found an audience at home, so it checked all the boxes. But what else do we have in store? Let's take a look. Our first movie is The Producers, which you could find on Prime. Now, I do not know why this was not a hit movie. It didn't make its money back. On Broadway, when it was nominated for Tonys, it had the record number of nominations and the record number of wins. It was one of the first live shows that people sold tickets for over $1,000 because it was in such high demand. When they made the movie, they had the same 2 lead stars, including Nathan Lane, who won the Tony Award, and his co-star Matthew Broderick, who was nominated but lost to Nathan Lane. It had the same director as it did on Broadway. It was fun, it was hilarious, yet it was not seen by the audience. Now, my only guess really is that people already spent $1,000 to see it live, so why do they need to see it on their phone or their TV for less? Because they've already seen it and they spent all that money into it, so they don't need to see it again. That's all I could guess. But anyway, you watch it, let me know what you think, and let's see what we got next. Another surprise for me was In the Heights, directed by John M. Chu, who directed Wicked. This was the first big hit musical for Lin-Manuel Miranda, who did Hamilton. This was very well received on stage. The movie, oh, so good. I went there, I felt very represented because they had like fat people dancing, thin people dancing, and they had all sort of Latin people dancing. But I think this became a little victim of the cancel culture because that was really high at that time. Apparently, there's a lot of Latin groups that did not feel that they were completely represented by the cast. There wasn't enough dark-skinned Latins in this movie. So I'm not Latin, so I can't relate to that. I did relate to seeing fat people, so that made me happy. But I just like the songs and the story and the jubilance and the happiness. So I'm very surprised and saddened that this movie was not the hit that it should be. But watch it on Max. Go now. Okay, I'm not surprised that 9 wasn't a big hit because it's a little esoteric and more like introverted type of movie than extroverted, even though it does star 6 Academy Award winning actors, including Daniel Day-Lewis in the lead. And although it won Tony Awards both times it was on Broadway, the movie just really didn't find an audience. Maybe it's because it sort of tells the story a little weird backflashes where he's remembering things. Is that current? Is it in the past? I don't know if that confused movie audiences. It did go on to get 4 Oscar nominations, including one for Penelope Cruz for Best Supporting Actress. But it still never found the audience that it should have, and it had really great style. Everyone's terrific. I mean, they all have Oscars, by the way. How could they not be terrific? Well, wait a minute. Sally Field has an Oscar or 2, and she was also in Beyond the Poseidon Adventure. So I take that back. Anyway, check out 9 on Prime. 9 on Prime. And it's based upon a Fellini film, by the way. Oh, there's Penelope. Rent on Prime as well didn't make its money back, and it starred 6 of the original 8 Broadway stars. Now, this is so uplifting, even though it has many sad moments, because it deals a lot about overcoming problems and obstacles and homelessness and AIDS, but it's mostly about friendship and love. Now, the reason I think this may not have been a hit, because I say the same thing about the movie Hair. Hair would have been on this list, but Hair didn't cost a lot. So although it didn't make a lot of money, it did make its money back. But they both came out 10 years too late. The AIDS epidemic was really heightened 10 years before this movie came out, when these actors were actually younger to play the parts that they were in. That's all I could think of. Like Hair came out in the late 70s, but it took place in 1969 during flower power and the Vietnam War. So it wasn't timely. Maybe this just wasn't timely, but no matter what, it is still good. The most aligned movie on this list is Dear Evan Hansen. Wow, this got ripped apart by many critics because the actor Ben Platt was too old. He was 27 playing a high schooler. But he originated the part on Broadway. But don't forget, Stockard Channing and Olivia Newton-John were in their 30s when they were in Grease. I think he's convincing. Even if he's not, he knows this role. He's great in this role. He sings live. But alas, it was nominated for several worst film, worst actor of the year awards, but it's still really good. Oh, I'm surprised. Catch it on Peacock. A Chorus Line almost made its money back, but it didn't. And a lot of people hate this movie because they love the Broadway musical so much. This took out a few songs, added a few other songs, and it opened it up to having a little backstory because they don't want to just film people standing on stage the whole time. But this movie does have an Oscar winner in it, 2 Tony nominees, and sadly, 3 of the great dancers in this movie have died at a young age. But I enjoy this movie. I like Richard Attenborough, who won an Oscar for a different movie, of course, the way he handled it. One of the new songs was up for an Oscar, and I love it, called Surprise, Surprise. So that was a treat to me. I love all the dancing. There's nothing to me but the dancing that made me not enjoy this movie. So I don't know why you can't too. And please don't slap it in the face because you're so faithful to the live musical version. Good show. The only thing that really irks me about this movie is what they did to the song, What I Did for Love. When you see it live on the stage, you see it from the standpoint of a chorus dancer who says what she did for the love of the theater, and all the other people online join in her to sing what they did for love. The movie turned it into a love story song where Allison Reed sings it what she did for the love of Michael Douglas, which really bothers me. But let's take a quick look at the original version. It's a little grainy.
We did what we had to do.
By the way, it's Priscilla Lopez who won a Tony Award for that role, and she plays a grandma in The Heights. This movie almost didn't make the list because it's not really streaming right now, but I found it on YouTube, so you can too. It's Sweet Charity from 1969. It was Bob Fosse's first movie as a director. It was very innovative at the time, even though it was an old-fashioned story, but his dancing had really not been seen much on screen because he was more of a stage performer, dancer, actor, choreographer. But this movie just really didn't catch on the audience. I know a lot of people were sad that the Broadway star Gwen Verdon wasn't cast in the part and Shirley MacLaine was. But Shirley's a great dancer. She's not a great singer, but she is a great dancer. So this movie is super fun. I would catch it if I were you. And yet it's another one based upon a Fellini film. But let's look how innovative Fosse's dance moves were. There's this one dance for like 8 or 9 minutes where there's really no talking, but it's just amazing. Well, that's our show of the week. I hope you share, come back, subscribe, give me comments of what other shows I should do. We are leaving with West Side Story. It wasn't a hit and it wasn't a flop, so it was hard to put it on this list. It did get nominated for many Oscars and won some, the remake I'm talking about. And it made $74 million at the box office, but it cost $100. So technically, it didn't make its money back. I'm sure streaming channels got its money back, and it's still a beloved classic. Even if the old one is still a classic, they're both good. You could watch them both. But anyway, I thought I'd at least leave with this because I didn't want to exclude it because I love this movie.